I saw this graph that shows how much money you need in each state to live comfortably as a family of four. But the thing is, I don't know a single person with two children. So I just can't relate to this graph. I need you guys to tell me if you are married or with a partner or single, how much money do you need to live comfortably in your state? And by comfortably, I mean you can pay your bills, do the things that you like to do, obviously not crazy extravagant stuff like flying to Paris every other weekend, and also maybe having a little bit of money to save and invest. To me, that's living comfortably. My husband and I right now, we live on just my salary. I make $125,000 a year. We live in Chicago, and I think we live comfortably. Now, we live in a tiny apartment, okay, but that is because we choose to live in the city, and so we're willing to sacrifice space for a higher rent. But if we wanted more space, I believe that we can do it. We would just have to move a little bit out of the city. Anyways, let me know, because I want to know.
Now we're seeing all the data on the salary or income you need to live comfortably in the United States, and most Americans just don't have that salary. My current 9 to 5 job pays less than half of what is required to live comfortably in my state. And seeing all this data of what we need to make in order to live a comfortable life, fund our retirements, have a house, most people just don't have those numbers. Because not only has the cost of living gotten so out of control, the job market is another problem as well. Because people are not getting raises, people are getting laid off, wages have not increased with the same rate as inflation. So a lot of people just aren't making as much money as they need to be. And this is causing people to have multiple jobs, multiple side hustles, just to make the minimum amount to stay afloat. Very tough times ahead for us for 2026, in my opinion. I want to hear from you guys. Let me know comments down below what you think and take a look at the rest of these clips.
In order to live comfortable here in the US, you have to have one, a stable income, two, multiple streams of income. Multiple streams, a side hustle, a gig. There was a man here on TikTok. I saw his video. He was a cop one day. The next day he's a DJ. And then the third day he does it like he's a handyman. Look, you got to get it how you get it. And when I saw that video, I was laughing, but I felt it like you really have to do what you have to do in order to survive out here. Because yo, it's crazy. Seriously, could you imagine if you just relying on your one income to survive and eat? No. Mm-mm. We gotta have you.
How much income is required for a family of four to live comfortably in the United States? Well, a new study just came out, and the lowest cost state puts the income amount at $178,000 per year. The highest cost state puts the income at $301,000 a year. California slots in at $277,000 per year. Now, what is comfortably? That means 50% of spending is on necessities, 30% is discretionary spending, and 20% goes to savings. That means that there is no state in the country that the income requirement to live comfortably is under $170,000. Things are getting more expensive by the day, and this data is shocking, interesting, scary, perhaps.
This is how much a family of four needs to earn to live comfortably in each U.S. state. And the highest required income isn't in California or New York. It's actually in Massachusetts at just over $300,000. Whereas the lowest is in Mississippi at just over $175,000. Here, comfortably means allocating 50% of your income to your needs, like your mortgage and groceries. 30% goes to your discretionary costs, and then you save and invest the remaining 20%. And even though a lot of these numbers seem really, really high, there's something that's even more startling. The median U.S. income for a family of four is actually $114,000. And remember, Massachusetts required the highest income at over $300,000, whereas Mississippi required just over $175,000. Well, this information comes from the U.S. Department of Justice. And here you'll see that the median income for a family of four in Massachusetts and Mississippi, respectively, is around $120,000 and $65,000, respectively. Or you'll see below that the median family income in California is about $104,000. So if you just take those data points and apply them broadly across the country, it looks like there's a lot of people that aren't living comfortably. And I get it, a lot of this can vary from family to family, but overall, it might suggest that the US has an affordability problem for your regular everyday American.
This is the income needed to live comfortably in your state as of February of this year. This is my second video of this, and I just want to talk a little bit more and then show you guys the far corner ones you really couldn't see on the first video. Find your state, honey, because what are we doing? What are we doing here on Earth? We need to leave. Okay, here's a close-up of all the East Coast, if you couldn't see that. And let me explain what it means to live comfortably based on this. They're basically saying that it is required to cover the 50-30-20 budget rule. So I can say I'm comfortable here in Hawaii, but I'm not covering that 50-30 budget rule, meaning 50% of my earnings for necessities, 30% is just for random spending. I can't even see that word right there. And 20% goes into your savings. Those people who are saying, this is whatever, I live comfortably, what does that mean? Are you saving up to 20% of your income? Okay. You have no debt. You're able to pay off your debt. You're able to live off of 50% of your income. You're not consuming any credit card debt. Okay. If you are, then kudos to you. I'm not. I am not saving 20% of my income. Now, also, what does comfortably mean to you? To me, comfortably means, excuse me, I can eat out whenever I want. But honestly, I try not to eat out during the week, but I want to be able to go to a restaurant and I'm not saying, oh, we can't eat out this month. Comfortable to me means I'm able to have some luxurious things, you can say, in my home. I am able to afford, you name it. Like, I'm able to celebrate holidays with my child. If I want to order on, I just don't want no budget. And please don't come barking in my comments because I get it. Obviously, some people are much better with money than others. And keep in mind, we all have different things we spend. For example, I don't have a car note. So I just overall don't think this makes sense. The fact that people's income are not going up at the percentage that our cost of living is going up. What are we supposed to be doing? I want to be able to travel the world with my daughter. That's one of the reasons why I don't have a car note. And when I bought my car cash, I saved up for that. In my mind, I'm like, well, the money I will be spending towards a car note, I could be saving towards travels. It just doesn't make any sense. I mean, I feel like states, even say Mississippi is the lowest, but people don't make that much in certain states. What a nurse will make in California or Texas, they don't make that same amount in a state like Mississippi. That's just an example. I remember when I moved from Ohio to DC, my teaching salary went up significantly, but DC was a more expensive state. That makes sense. The fact that teachers are still making the exact same amount in Ohio, and Ohio is becoming, you know what I mean? This is expensive. Now, let me be very clear that even when I travel and when I live my life and whatever, I do not spend, there's ways to definitely go around money. But y'all, we having to go around everything, okay? It used to just be cut back on this, cut back on that, eat out less, buy groceries. Groceries are more, sometimes the convenience and the equal price of buying food pre-made, I don't know. The math is not mathing. If you are doing well on what you make and you don't feel the difference, comment down below. I guess there's some of y'all here. Am I jealous? Absolutely. Absolutely. And y'all talking about we need to move? Yes, we do. Where are we going? We need some remote jobs and we need to be somewhere else that's just a lot less to live. But then you think about what you're doing to that place, because you're coming in with your American dollars and those people in that area, let's say somewhere like Thailand or I would say certain parts of Africa, but even prices, like I'm from Sierra Leone, West Africa, and that used to be our thing, like, we'll just move back to Sierra Leone. Sierra Leone is so expensive, and the people there are dirt poor. I'm not talking about the poor, what we think of poor. I'm talking about they have nothing. They're working today to eat today. They don't work today, they don't eat today, okay? So not talking about no paychecks, but there's no paycheck, okay? So it's like, the level of poverty that's even happening around the world, it makes you feel silly to be complaining about something like this, but it's just not right. The math is not mathing, okay? Okay. So where are we going so we can all make more money? And this thing gonna be enough. I said in my last video. All right, I'll post it one more time, move out the way. If you want to take a screenshot, there it is.
I'm about to have a brain aneurysm based on the comments of a post that stated that a single adult needs an annual salary of approximately $106,745 to live comfortably. That figure is based on the 50-30-20 budget rule, where 50% of your income goes to needs, 30% to wants, and 20% to savings or debt repayment. I reposted this in my story. Now, if you click on the original article, you will see some of the most asinine comments that make me want to punch people in the face. I live in Appalachia and I only make $40,000 and I'm comfortable. Because you live in Appalachia! The cost of living is different in different parts of the country. For instance, let's say that you are moving from San Francisco, California to Amarillo, Texas, and you make right now in San Francisco the national average, which is $107,000, which, by the way, is considerably less than what you need to live comfortably in San Francisco. They quoted something between $130,000 and $150,000. But bear with me, okay? You have $107,000 and you are moving to Amarillo, Texas. How much money do you need to make in Amarillo to sustain the same quality of life? Well, my friend, you only need to make $54,524 because the cost of living in Amarillo is 49.4% lower. Do you see? Do you see how it could be different in different parts? I mean, you're paying less for steak. You're paying less for rent. You're paying less for your utility bills, everything. IHOP costs different in Amarillo than it does in San Francisco. Do you understand why some of your comments are so asinine that you think, I could live for a family of 4, people are just bad at budgeting? No, they're not! I mean, I am. Anyway.
What does it cost to live comfortably in every state? What do you think the most expensive state is? And I bet you'll never guess what the least expensive state is. I'll show you. Most expensive, Hawaii. I mean, how many people really live in Hawaii, right? Over all the other states. But that's the most expensive. Or however you want to look at it, that's where you have to make the most to live comfortably because everything's so expensive. I like to talk about Maryland here. I'm from Maryland. I have a lot of fun facts about Maryland. But real quick, what do you think is the best state to live in to make the least amount of money? All right, so real quick, if you talk about Maryland, they say you have to make $259,000 a year as a household to live comfortably. So I did a little math, and if you divide that math by 12 months, because you make money monthly, or weekly for that matter. But after taxes, you're looking at bringing home around $168,000 a year. Divide that by 12, it's $14,000 a month that you would bring home. So let's add up a couple debts. So you have a house. The average house in the state of Maryland is anywhere between $450,000 and $550,000. So let's use $500,000. $500,000 house, 3% down, $15,000 plus your closing costs, another $15,000. You're looking at $30,000 down on a $500,000 purchase. That gives you a mortgage payment with taxes, insurance, mortgage insurance of $4,015, give or take, at current rates. Then you got $2,000 for insurance, $600 for gas, $350 for gas and electric, $2,000 in car payments is the average, and then $450 for car insurance, and then $1,000 for food. So you got to pay $10,400 a month to have an average house in the state of Maryland, as long as you're making $260,000, let's say $60,000 a year. But here's the kicker. The average household income in the state of Maryland is $102,000. But they're saying you got to make $259,000 to live comfortably. So with all the numbers I just gave you, how can the average person in the state of Maryland buy the average home in the state of Maryland with the numbers that's going? Something's not mathing. We either have to reduce the prices of houses by lowering the interest rate, but there's a catch to that. If you lower the rates, the people that have been waiting to buy a house are now going to spend more money to buy the house that they've been waiting for. Those people that aren't making average income, they're going to pay over and bump the prices up. Or we need some programs for first-time home buyers that would allow that to limit the competition on buying a home. So let's say the government came out with a program that said you get a $10,000 towards your closing costs if you're a first-time home buyer in the state of Maryland, something along those lines. I mean, they've done that before. It does help, but it does give a lot of competition. There's a lot of first-time home buyers out there. So raises my theory of what in the world are we going to do to get the cost of housing to go down? So to answer that first question, what's the best place to live? Check this out. West Virginia holding it strong. Single person can make 80,000, household income 195,000. So if you live in the tri-state area, Maryland, DC, Virginia, surrounding areas, you'll see a lot of people commute. They'll buy a home in West Virginia. They'll drive an hour plus to get to work in one of the other counties that have higher income. I'm sure it's like that in every state that's close by. You may go to another state to work, but here on the East Coast, it is a huge thing to not live where you work because housing is so darn expensive, but the best jobs are in the expensive areas. So let me know your feedback. How far are you driving to work just to make ends meet? What's the average income in your areas? I'd love to run some more numbers for you, but Maryland is whack right now when it comes to how much you have to make to live comfortably and how much you have to make to actually buy a home and be able to afford to live. I'm not sure how people are doing it. Let me know what you think.
So CNBC published an article over the weekend about what is the income a family of four needs to live comfortably in every state in the US. And this was based off of another article from Smart Asset. And of course, the numbers are going to be much higher than you would expect, which is what I found really interesting about this. Now, first off, I think it's important to define what does live comfortably mean. And from the article on both CNBC and Smart Asset, it says living comfortably is, the way they define it, is a buffer from the stress of living paycheck to paycheck. And they use a 50-30-20 budget, which means 50% of your salary should be allocated for your needs, such as housing and groceries and transportation, 30% towards things like entertainment and hobbies, and 20% towards paying off debt, saving, or investing. So being able to not just live paycheck to paycheck, but have money to do other things, and especially to pay off debt, save, and invest. All right, so with that, what does it take for a family of four to live comfortably in each of the states in the United States? And this is where it was just so much more expensive, surprisingly and unsurprisingly. So it gets cut off at the top here, but Massachusetts was the most expensive at $301,000. Now that may or may not be surprising, but the top 5 states, probably unsurprisingly, are all near $300,000 in order to live comfortably in each of those states for a family of four. Now that's probably not surprising. You know, Hawaii, Connecticut, New York, California, Massachusetts, like those are expensive places to live. You would expect for a family of four to live comfortably that the cost of living would be expensive. What I found to be the most surprising was down here, how narrow the gap is between the most expensive and the median and least expensive. You can see here that the least expensive state requires nearly 200,000, so 178,000 annual income, and the median for the US as a whole is 213,000 for a family of four to live comfortably. And here are a couple more states. So Texas, 200,000, Utah, 218,000, Virginia, 235,000. Everything somewhere in the 200,000s. I've been having a similar conversation with friends, my wife recently, where it's not feasible. And I think everybody's been feeling this. You have to be a 2-income household now in order to live comfortably and frankly just to be able to make it nowadays. Like the concept of being able to make it just generally as a single income household is gone. Like it's just not possible to really be a family and live comfortably unless you're making a significant amount of money. And to be a two-income household, like, you have to be making a decent amount as a two-income household. Like, these aren't small amounts. Like, living comfortably, like, these are decent incomes for a two-income household. In these places, like, you're talking 2 6-figure incomes. Like, that's significant. Anyway, I felt like I've known this and been having this conversation with people like for a little while now, but to actually see some of the numbers that they had put together just made it feel more real and tangible. This idea that to live comfortably, you have to be making quite a bit of money, as in order to live comfortably as a family of four. And if you have more in your family, like Utah, I mean, family of four, we're a family of four, and we're an outlier in a place like Utah. I mean, most people in Utah have much bigger families than that. So you got to be making quite a bit more than that, and in other places. So anyway, there you go. To live comfortably, the U.S., you got to be making quite a bit of money. Yeah, the end.
What level of income do you need to feel comfortable in this life? Let's talk about it. Here I want your help. I want you to tell me in the comments what makes you feel comfortable from an income perspective, based on the state you live in, based on your family size, based on your goals. I mean, I know in the USA, right, the median income for a single person is $45,000, and for a household, it's $83,000. I'm not saying that makes you feel comfortable, because it varies on so many factors. My wife and I are from Michigan. We're both 29 years old. We'll make about $176,000 this year. We feel comfortable in our lifestyle with our cars, our houses, our dog. We don't have kids, so that plays a factor. So I'm really curious. I want your help here. I want to see in the comments, what level of income do you think makes you comfortable? And don't judge. It's dependent on what kind of lifestyle you want. So help me out. Chris Lee, Everyday Finance. I won't see you in the next one. I'll see you in those comments. Have a good one.
So let's get straight into it. The question is, what salary do I need to live comfortably? Well, I always say that it depends. It depends on where you're at. It depends on what you're trying to do. If you look at a place like West Virginia, as a single person living, you need about $85,000 to live comfortably. I'm talking about you can take care of whatever you need, you're fine. Then you look like somewhere like California, where you're going to be spending about 119 to 120,000 to live comfortably. But the most important thing is you choose your lifestyle how you would like to live. But where you live does affect that. So we have to be mindful with the salary that we're receiving, where we're living, and what we are trying to do in the future. Those things will answer your question consistently about the salary you need to live comfortably. Per usual, stay easy. Love you guys.